Camping is a great way to experience some peace and connect with nature. But what happens when nature decides to strike back? From intruders stalking campers to leopards attacking camps, here are 30 of the most terrifying camping encounters ever caught on camera. In February 2023, a man decided to go out on a solo camping trip, except that he wasn't just going into the woods. He was about to spend the night at an abandoned farm in the middle of nowhere. And, well, it went exactly like you'd expect. Right as he was about to doze off, the man heard loud footsteps climbing up the stairs, and since there was only one path down, he couldn't run away either. All he could do was hide behind the bed and pray for his life. Why would someone just walk into an abandoned farmhouse at night? And what would they do if they found the camper there? These were the questions racing through his mind as he held his breath behind that bed. He may have survived the night, but he's been scarred for life. You never know what you're going to find when you go out into the woods, but sometimes you stumble upon something so bizarre that it completely catches you off guard. And that's exactly what happened to this man in Granby, Connecticut. During his walk, he spotted something strange in the distance. As he got closer, however, the terrifying reality dawned on him because this was no random structure. This was one of the creepiest dolls ever hung onto a pole with barbed wire.
What?
With darkened green eyes and nails stuck in its head, the doll was not the work of a prankster. No, this had to be someone with a deeply twisted mind, and this became even clearer when the man walked to the side of the doll.
Whose arm's broken?
Deep in the woods, about 12 miles south of Williams, Arizona, a solo camper hears a woman screaming for help outside his RV. And as scary as it sounds, he can't just sit around and let someone suffer.
Hear that?
He grabs his camera and prepares to save the screaming woman. But as he walks toward the noise and reaches the spot, he realizes that it's a setup and he's the one who needs saving. Turns out a man hiding in the trees was making the screaming noise and was waiting to ambush the camper. Luckily, the camper spots him before he gets attacked, but while he gets to the RV and locks himself in, he's not safe yet. In June 2001, the Campus Life Youth Group was on their annual Marble Mountains backpacking trip in Vietnam when they stumbled upon strange claw marks on the trees. And it didn't take them long for them to figure out that the claws weren't left by an animal.
We notice claw marks as we look at the trees and stuff. Then we come around, we spin in here, and we see how whatever it is has been all...
The creature lived under a tree-like formation that was fully camouflaged with branches. Before the group even had the chance to go in and look, however, they spotted something running at the top of the hill. And there it was, in its full glory, the legendary Bigfoot.
Moving now.
The tree is. It's to the right of him. They're just walking that way. See that king's apple? He's that kind of...
The larger-than-life mythical beast was on the other side of the valley, yet it instantly spotted the group trespassing the area around its home. And to no one's surprise, it was not happy about the situation.
Jumping up and down. He's going back and forth. He is furious. He knows we're in Arkansas.
Deep in northern Canada, a man ventures out on a solo journey to an abandoned prison in the middle of the woods. And while he finds some unsettling things in the deserted building, none compare to his experience through the night.
I keep hearing something outside. Sounds like it's in the corridor, one of the corridors.
His sleep is interrupted when he hears an animal walking outside his tent. But even though that's already terrifying, his fear is amplified when he realizes that he's being stalked by a deadly coyote.
Buddy, you want to leave me alone? It's gonna be a long night.
He tries talking to the coyote, asking it to leave him alone. That may not be the best strategy, though, because rather than scaring the beast away, the camper ends up making things worse for himself. Animals invading your camp is scary, but it doesn't compare to the unsettling feeling when another human approaches you in the woods, especially when you're out in the middle of nowhere. And that's exactly what happened to this man.
And I've got a visitor. Creeped up behind me asking me if I had a light. I shit me pants.
The camper was casually cooking his dinner when a strange man crept up on him and startled him. And while he didn't attack, there was something extremely off about him. The camper kept up appearances in the moment, but the situation wasn't what you'd think.
You went round here in a poncho a couple of months ago, were you?
Don't think a lot.
The man looked homeless and asked the camper for a lighter. The question was, though, what was he doing this deep in the woods? And was he planning something before he was detected by the camper?
Turned round to cut some firewood up. So I cut a couple of logs up. And when I turned back round, he'd gone.
The camper knew his spot wasn't safe anymore, so he had to leave. Witness one of the most bizarre things ever captured on camera as a man goes on a camping trip to the woods with his dog and starts hearing a very strange sound at night. But the terrifying thing is, he cannot figure out where the noise is coming from. The popping sound almost seems like something big is walking over sticks and snapping them in half. However, while that's already scary enough to send shivers down anyone's spine, his dog's reaction is what makes this truly scary.
Come here. What are you doing? Stay here. What's out there, boy?
For some reason, his dog was drawn to whatever was making noise in the woods, so much so that it kept wandering off despite the camper telling it to stay put.
Stay. Sit. I have no idea what the hell this is. I'm hoping it's like a bear.
The worst part? The noise continued throughout the night. In 2022, a man drove down to Jacksonville, Florida for a truck camping trip because he had to house sit for a friend. What should have been an easy night outside his friend's house, however, turned into an absolute nightmare.
I don't know what the heck's going on, but I think I just heard some gunshots right outside my truck. I'm gonna go ahead and get in the house because I'm kind of freaked out right now.
The man's sleep was interrupted by loud gunshots outside his truck, and not knowing what was happening, he had to leave the truck. The issue was he didn't know if outside was safe, so he could lose his life while running to the house. He had no idea what had just happened, and no cops showed up in the area either. But the reality was that he could have been shot by a stray bullet, because when he looked back at the surveillance footage, things looked grim. It was a drive-by shooting. In 2023, a man went on a solo car camping trip to the Scottish Highlands. However, what was supposed to be a cozy retreat in the middle of nowhere turned into a dangerous situation when he was awakened by a loud noise at night.
Somebody has parked the car.
Even though he made sure to park in a secluded spot, 2 cars pulled up right next to the camper's vehicle and started blasting loud music, and he had no idea what their motives were. What he did know was that he had to get out of there.
Music to my left, there's actually 2 cars. Another one pulled up as well, and I did not feel good about this at all. So I am getting the hell out of here.
In December 2019, a group of explorers were out in the woods looking for rare species of frogs. However, in their quest, they ended up stumbling upon a lot more than they'd bargained for. Out of nowhere, a strange creature jumped into the light before running off into the woods. What made this particularly scary, though, was that the creature was humanoid, with long arms and a small head, almost like an alien. That said, even though the creature was scary, these explorers weren't gonna just sit there and watch it disappear. They were ready to get to the bottom of the mystery, even if it meant chasing it down. In 2021, an Indian man went on a solo camping trip in the jungle, and even though his day went smoothly, the situation changed at night when he heard an animal approaching his tent. Of course, it's common for curious animals to check out a tent in the wild, which is usually not that dangerous. But this was no ordinary animal, because a few seconds later the man started hearing roars outside his tent. It was a leopard, and not only was it growling outside his tent, but it was also trying to get inside. The man's life was in danger, and he had no way out. In February 2022, a woman was solo camping in her van when she heard a loud knock on the door. However, the scary thing about this was that it was 4:30 in the morning and the woman was all alone.
I hear footprints. Hello? How can I help you?
She tried talking to the strange visitor, telling him it was a weird time to knock on someone's door. She made a big mistake, though. She told him she didn't feel safe.
It's 4:30 in the morning. I don't feel safe. Who are you?
The woman whipped out her knife, ready to defend herself, but luckily the intruder backed off after the initial encounter. Still, he didn't fully leave her and kept walking around the van until the break of dawn.
So I come out this morning and you can see footprints. Look at this one. This is mine. I'll show you. There's mine. See?
Witness a scary encounter high up in the Scottish mountains as a man goes for a solo camping trip hoping to get some breathtaking views from the top of the world. Little did he know that he was walking into uncharted territory filled with terrors unknown.
Oh, you can see it down there. What was making a noise like that? It's small.
Right at the break of dawn, the man started hearing weird sounds coming from down the hill, and when he walked outside his tent to have a look, he was met with 2 glowing eyes staring right back at him. But this was just the beginning.
There's another one behind me. Can you hear that?
The sounds kept growing with time, and the camper had no idea what creature was making them. Many people think he heard a fox's warning call, but the camper says there were no foxes in the area.
Don't know if it's wildcats. There was one.
After a long day of driving, a trucker parks his rig at a rest area and prepares to call it a night. But he doesn't realize that his night's about to be derailed by an unwanted visitor.
No fucking way.
Someone's trying to break into his truck while he's still in there, and he's not hesitating even when the trucker emerges into the cab. He needs to make sure his doors are locked or things could get ugly here.
There's literally someone right there, bro.
Luckily, the doors are locked, and the thief runs away after a couple of attempts. Remaining here isn't safe for the trucker, though, so he decides to dip before someone else swoops in.
Alright guys, screw that. I'm just decided I was actually gonna leave. I seen him take off, but there's no way in how I'm staying there. Thankfully, I locked my doors.
On September 6, 2015, a man was out camping alone in the woods when he had a life-changing experience because what he saw was definitely not from this world.
It again. Whoa. And that's the same spot in the trees. Okay, that's a different area than it was before. I mean, it moves.
In the middle of the night, he started seeing bright lights coming from the woods. But the thing was, the lights weren't coming from one spot, and they were rapidly moving around.
This is where it kind of creeps me out. Oh! There it is again. No lightning, because it's the same area every time, and there's no clouds anywhere. There's a clear sky.
No one believed the camper until he showed them the footage from his trip. Still, the origin of the lights remains a mystery to this day, with people thinking it's related to folklore.
You see the little things crossing the screen. But you're going to want... Whoa! Now, did you see what I'm talking about? That was good. That was a good shot.
In India, a solo camper prepares his food for the night in the middle of nowhere when his recording is interrupted by something very dangerous. He's just heard a leopard's growl in the distance, and since he's exposed, there's no way he'd make it out alive if the beast decides to charge him down. The camper needs to do something ASAP. For some bizarre reason, the camper continues cooking despite hearing a leopard's growl behind him. His life is at risk, and he has to leave everything and run for his life. He has some sense in him after all. In March 2024, a stealth camper was about to doze off for the day at the Peak District National Park in the UK when his night's sleep was interrupted by a loud knock on his door.
Someone was just outside.
A man showed up outside his van to complain about a loud car noise he heard. But this wasn't just any car, because when they went out to investigate, they realized they were being stalked.
Not there.
That scared the living daylights out of me.
Well, I just banged my roof, I didn't.
Jesus. So what are they playing out up there then?
It's that light.
The car had been racing around the area for a while, making loud engine sounds. But now they were perched up on the hill with their headlights pointed directly at the camper van. But they've been spotted now and can't stay up there any longer.
It looks like this too.
Honestly, that noise.
Here he is, here he is.
The following footage comes from a man who made the mistake of going deep into the haunted woods at night all by himself.
There's something dead over here. It smells like something dead.
He's wandering around the woods in pitch darkness, only seeing through his night vision camera. But even though the situation's already scary, he's about to run into something he'll never forget. He spots a shadowy figure moving through the trees, and he isn't sure if it's an animal, another human, or something else entirely. And if he values his life, he's got to get out of there. Camping in the middle of nowhere is one thing. But what happens when you camp at a local park? Should be safe, right? Well, that's what this man thought too, but his experience was anything but safe.
They could see it or not through the tent. I don't think so. I'm leaning right up against the light, but somebody's walking around out there very close to the tent.
In the middle of the night, the camper hears footsteps approaching his tent. Fearing the worst, he leans down and braces himself. Once the footsteps go away, the man emerges from his tent.
Fine, it's about 150 yards away. Hang on. You see that? I see you! I can see you!
He's brave enough to shout back at the visitor who's still standing in the distance. But being brave doesn't always mean you're being smart. And well, this one's gonna come back to bite the camper.
I don't know if they're like after me or something, or what the happening. Holy I don't like this. I'm calling the police!
In August 2023, a man was out camping in the woods, not too far from the population, when his preparations were interrupted by something extremely strange.
And rain camping is really good.
Out of nowhere, he started hearing footsteps around him. The issue was that the footsteps sounded extremely close, almost as if someone was circling the man, yet he couldn't see anyone. The footsteps went away for a bit, and the man continued with his cooking. The fear was still looming in his heart, though, and even before he had the chance to relax, the noise returned.
It's like it's just there.
Camping out in a haunted forest is already bad enough, but this group of friends took things to a different level by camping next to dead bodies in Indonesia. Some cultures in Indonesia dig up their buried relatives once a year, and these folks were unlucky enough to get there during that time. And while that's already creepy enough, the sheer stench in the area is probably even worse. In February 2023, two friends in India went camping, and the location they chose wasn't supposed to be dangerous. What was supposed to be an easy camping trip, though, quickly turned into a life-threatening situation. The camper was casually looking out into the distance, taking in the sights, when he spotted movement behind the trees. And when he looked back at the footage, it all became clear. They were being stalked by a leopard. In 2022, an RV YouTuber was parked up in a dense forest cooking up his food for the night when he was interrupted by a loud knock on his door. He was out in the middle of nowhere, which made the knock scary. Just as he was preparing for the danger, however, the man noticed something even more terrifying. Not only did he start hearing footsteps outside his RV, but it almost seemed like the intruder was dragging their feet along the ground. Plus, there was every possibility of it being a wild animal. The camper had to put his safety first and get ready for a rough night. Witness a strange encounter as a photographer goes out to Shropshire Hills in the UK to capture the sunset. Once he's done, he decides to camp out for the night in his van, but his sleep is interrupted by an unwanted visitor.
Really weird, something woke me up, and it was pushing against the side of the car, and like knocking into it.
Around midnight, something slams into his van so hard it gets rocked. What's more, the creature continues doing it for several minutes. As for the poor camper, he has no idea how to deal with this situation.
The car, the keys, it's been shaken. Now.
To be fair, there are horses and sheep in the area, so there's every possibility that he's safe. But going out to check, especially at this hour, would be way too risky, so he just has to power through the night.
In the back, in the distance, not as much as the sheep though. So yeah, it's probably just sheep. And that, but like I say, I'm not getting out there. One, I haven't got an exterior.
In February 2024, a group of hunters went out into the woods in Arizona, and while most of their day went smoothly, the same cannot be said for their night. Because as they were sitting around a campfire, they spotted something in the sky.
What a day. Dude, oh my gosh, what is that? Oh no, I'm actually dead serious. Look at that. What is that? Dude.
They could not believe what they were seeing and were fully convinced they'd just spotted a UFO in the night sky. And when you look at the footage they took, it's hard not to see where they're coming from.
Oh. Dude, you could see it. You could see on the camera. What is that? Guys, come look at it.
The strange object was flying through the sky with a long trail behind it. Of course, there's every possibility they were seeing a comet or a rocket launch, but your guess is as good as mine.
Is it just a spaceship? Like, oh my goodness, that's so crazy. It literally started way over there, and now it's traveled all the way up.
Picture this. You go camping, high up in the hills, where no one can disturb you. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, that's exactly what this man thought too, until his night was derailed by an intruder.
Getting through a couple of episodes of Breaking Bad. Going to turn the fridge off in a minute, that's the whirring you can hear behind me. But yeah, I think I'm going to switch off for the night.
Even though he was in a secluded spot, someone pulled up in their car right next to him. But these people weren't there to stalk or attack him. They parked up on the hill for something else entirely.
Somebody just pulled up right next to the car.
Yep, these folks are there to do the deed. And now the poor camper's got to try and sleep through all the noise they're making. Luck's on his side, though, because they're not there for long.
It's called midnight. I think there's two people shagging in the car next to me. Oh, it's going to be a long night.
Solo camping in the haunted woods is never a good idea, yet people keep going there for thrills. But it doesn't always go right for them because sometimes nature strikes back.
Yeah, but
most campers are used to hearing strange animal calls at night, but this one definitely takes the cake since it sounds like someone screaming in pain. But here's the thing, these woods are empty. No other humans are in the area.
there's definitely someone out there. Fuck's sakes. 2 seconds.
The noise is enough to make the man pack up and leave the area. However, the events of the night make more sense when he gets back home and looks through his trail cam footage.
4:12 a.m. This figure comes into view. Almost looks like it's trying to pull something down from a branch above, acting in a peculiar...
In India, a camper gets ready for sleep after a long day of setting up, but little does he know that his night is not going to be easy. If anything, he's about to realize why solo camping might have been a mistake. He's woken up by loud growls right outside his tent. To make matters worse, it sounds like a hungry leopard has decided to pay him a visit, and only the thin tent separates him from certain death. At this point, the camper can't just pack up and leave, so all he can do is prepare himself and pray that the deadly creature doesn't jump on his tent.